Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this workshop. Welcome. I'm Pierre from Transport and Environments, and together with Maria from Ecologistas en Acción, Jane from Mums for Lungs, Anne-Catherine, I don't know if she has joined us from Filtre Café Filtré, and Guille from Eixample Respira, and I hope I pronounce it correctly. Together, we thought that it would be a good idea to share experience on organizing school protests, because we noticed that a few of you seem to be interested in organizing such protests, but don't necessarily know how. So this evening, we're going to give you some concrete examples of successful school protests, or for Jane, it's a little bit different, but basically actions around schools, so that you can get hopefully inspired by these protests, and hopefully too you can reuse what can be reused and copy what can be copied. I think before starting, we should give a few definitions. First, school protests. What is it? So a school protest is a demonstration that takes place in front of a school with kids, with parents from the school. Why not with teachers and neighbors too? And these, the objective of these protests is to create school streets. And that's the second definition I would like to give. What is a school street? A school street is, most of the time, is the main street that passes in front of the school, and that you close to road traffic, you close to cars. Either you close it temporarily, so in the morning when kids go to school and in the afternoon when they leave school, or you close it permanently, which is of course the ideal scenario, at least for us. So how do you organize a successful school protest? How do you use it to create school streets? What works, what doesn't work? That's what we're going to discuss now with the three presentations. If you have questions during the presentations, please write them down. There will be time for questions during the second half of the workshop, so don't worry about that. You will just have to raise your hand and ask your question. I also specify that this workshop is being recorded, so hopefully that's not an issue for you, but yeah, just for you to know. Voila, so Guille, you have the first presentation. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Pierre, and thanks, Transport and Environment, for organizing this workshop. Let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, sure. Can you see it? Yes, perfect. So let me start by doing a quick introduction. My name is Guille Lopez. I'm a neighbor from the lovely city of Barcelona. I'm also father of two kids, 5 and 7 years old. Just to provide some context, this is their school. I took this picture this morning. This is how schools in Barcelona look like. This was not in rush hour. This picture was taken at noon, and you can see there is a lot of traffic and obviously pollution and noise in this school environment. I'm also a member of a citizens platform called Eixample Respira, and we've been doing protests because of the pollution levels and noise we suffer here in the city. And 4 months ago, together with different PTAs, with different parents and teacher associations from the city, we started a protest that has been very successful. It's the school rebellion, or revolta escolar that we call it. We are asking for safer and peaceful school environments with less noise and with less pollution. let me explain it to you how it started and share some key things that made it successful. So what did we do before we started the campaign? We've been doing talks with experts in the schools for the last 2 years, talking about pollution and how it affects our health and especially the kids' health. We also did a very successful campaign. It's actually a website sharing the pollution levels of all the schools here in Barcelona. We also, it includes also ranking of the most polluted schools in the city. On the map, you can see each dot is one of those schools. And it had great media coverage, and also it was widely shared by families. The website somehow made it visible something that is not visible, no, pollution, and made families to start making questions like, why my school is more polluted than the school, some streets next to it, or is this pollution affecting my kids' health? Because of this campaign and also because other campaigns, some schools started doing protests. Those previous protests were great because they allow us to learn some things, which things work out and which other things didn't work out. We learned, for example, that the best day to do the protest was on Fridays after the school has ended, because that's the day that families are more relaxed as the weekend is coming. Also, we realized that protests needed to be next to the school because for families to join, we could not expect them to go farther away from the school. So eventually, we decided that we needed to go all together, same day and same time to do the protest. So on mid-December last year, 20 schools, 20 PTAs, we decided to join in a protest. We did 17 street blocks at the same time on a Friday at 4:30. And the next Friday, the amount of schools doubled, and it has been growing since then. It expanded to other cities around Barcelona, and eventually it also reached other cities in Spain, like Madrid, Bilbao, or Valencia, that is joining next Friday. Last Friday of protest was the 6th Friday, and there were 67 simultaneous roadblocks in 7 cities. And we hope to keep it growing. So how did we organize all these protests? We have created a website in 4 different languages, in English, French, Spanish, and Catalan, and we are now translating it to German. And so everyone knows where to find all the information. We also promote that in each city there is a group, an organization, or even a person that is boosting and organizing the protests on that city. In Barcelona, for example, that role was done by our organization, by Eixample Respira, or in Madrid, it was Madres por el Clima. And we hope that other organizations help us to spread the protest to other cities in Europe. Also, through the website, each PTA can find 3 very important things. The first one is what we call the guide, and it's a simple Google Doc. So each PTA knows exactly what needs to do to join the protest, from notifying the protest so police comes to take care of traffic, to what to do the days before the protest, or even the schedule, to all the things you need to do the same day of the protest, everything. So it's super easy to join. You just need to follow the different steps and you end up eventually blocking the street in front of your school. Another thing that the website provides is an online tool, so you can download the poster to make the call and share the protest. You just need to fill the fields and also upload your PTA logo and just hit the download button, and you get the artwork that you can share on social media and through like WhatsApp or other platforms. And the third thing is an online form. So each PTA can notify us back that they are joining the protest. So we can add it to our shared communication and also to the press note we send before each protest. So why this protest worked particularly well? The thing here is to make it easy for people to join, both to organize the protest and also to join the protest. To organize the protest is key that you provide specific details on what to do. And in that sense, the guide was, it's like all PTAs are telling us, we were able to join because it was super easy to do it. Also, it's great that to have the tool to share the artwork, because then they don't need to reach a designer or figure out how to build that communication. And also it's super important that families, it's easy for them to join the protest. And on that sense, we found that it's very important that the street is already closed to traffic before the families leave the school. So it's super easy to join. We also have music and activities on the protest, and that helps a lot to join. Also, another thing is that we communicate that the protest is just 30 minutes, 45, 1 hour most, because so families know it's not overwhelming, that it's just a short period that they need to stay there. Also, we found that it's very important for PTAs to feel they are part of a movement. It's always hard to break the ice, especially the first time you do a protest. So you don't want them to feel alone. And in that sense, it's very important to have a shared communication, that artwork that we were showing, or even a hashtag as we do with the school rebellion, so everyone is communicating the same way. No? It's also very important that on each city there is a WhatsApp or Telegram group where everyone can share their experience. We have many schools, PTAs, that join those groups even before they have decided to join the protest, but seeing that there are other parents that are already going through the same process as they are, that makes them, it's easier that they end up joining the protest. And finally, it's also very important to have press and media coverage, because two things, because it helps you to propagate the protest to other cities, but also because it provides you relevance. So everyone feels that what they are doing, it has some impact. So what does a typical protest look like? So the days before, obviously, we spread the word. We send a press release that helps, that provides us great media coverage. And also we prepare banners, like cardboard banners that are super simple to do, but when people take pictures and videos, then those pictures talk by themselves, and what you are asking for gets more propagated. Then the day of the protest, considering the school ends in this case at 4:30, then for the parents or involved on the organization, we meet up like half an hour before, and we make sure everything is ready. The music is ready to be played. That and then just on that time, normally the police arrive and they take care of cutting the street. And as I said before, it's super important, like 15 minutes, kids and families leave the school, the street is already closed. So it's super easy for them to join the protest. And then the protest takes like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and everyone goes back to their lives. And what's the main advice I will give to other people or PTAs considering to join a protest like this is that you just need a few other parents, like 4 or 5, that really believe on this to start the protest. As we said before, it helps a lot if you are coordinated with other PTAs in your city, and also if you make it super easy for families to join. And what's the most impressive protest you managed to organize? So it's actually the last Friday of protest. It was May 12th. There were 67 simultaneous roadblocks in 7 cities. In Barcelona, it was 47 street blocks. It's one of those dots on the map. And as we were all blocking our streets at the same time, then the city really felt it. The media is talking about it, politicians are talking about it, and we hope that city governments start taking actions. And the best thing also is that the schools are eager to keep protesting. Families are really enjoying this format of protest. The format is working super good, and we will see where it takes us. And we hope other cities join us. And that's it. Sorry, it took a little bit longer than 10 minutes.
It's okay, it's okay. We started a bit late, so you are
okay.
Thank you so much, Guy. 67 school protests in 7 cities at the same time. Yeah, that's quite impressive. And if I understand correctly, the keywords are simplicity and inclusion. So that's very useful. Next presentation is Anne-Catherine from Filter Café Filtré. So Anne-Catherine, the floor is yours.
Hello, I would like to share my screen, but somebody has to admit.
Oh, yes, sorry. Let me do it. Hold on. Okay, try now.
Well, I'm a little bit amazed because the story I'm about to tell is exactly the same, but in Belgium. Yes, I will go through it, but I'm hoping that I'm not saying too much the same thing. What happened was in 2018, around 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, there was a study done by Greenpeace, and there was a television program showing what air pollution does to children, and it was filmed in the school of my kids and of other parents too. And it was really shocking. Why? Because you saw your children in the environment you're in every day, and that gives a shock, and you have a moment where you say, this is not normal, we just can't accept this. So the evening, the same evening, parents were calling to each other, were WhatsApping and so on. We have to do something, and we made a meeting the day after in a bar, and we said, yeah, we will just close the streets. We will call, we will send a letter to all politicians that they should come. We can't accept this. We will also invite the press. And so we were, I think we were 15, something like that. And we divided all things we had to do. Everybody knew what he had to do. He went home. And the day after, we had like this picture. It was a huge success. There was a lot of, there were a lot of people. In the press was all over it. We were on television. We were everywhere. And yes, we were sitting together. We said, yes, we can't leave it like that for one action. What do we do with this success? There were also other parents for other schools that also saw the television program. And so we sat together, we said, what can we do? And so we decided, yes, we have to make a kind of manifesto. And yeah, because air quality, it's one thing, but to work on air quality, you have to work on different teams. And these teams are traffic safety, planning, mobility, taxation, health, and so on. And we made a kind of manifesto with 10 points on which we should work, that we have something to ask for. We also wrote to all the other schools in the environment. Everybody was talking to his neighbors who were in other schools and so on. And we also made like a practical guide, what to use. So it's really easy. We did it every Friday morning instead of in the afternoon, just before the school starts. We close down the street, we serve coffee, we invite politicians to drink coffee, to listen to what we want. We organized all different kinds of activities for the children to show what happens when there are no cars, what happens when you use the public space in another way. Yes, these are the elements you need to do it. You make some posters and so on with yeah, and then you invite so we made a Facebook page, and there every week, every school that joins the action. So the first week we were we were alone, of course. The next week we were 5, then 13, and it went on and on and on. And finally we ended up with 178 street schools doing the action in different cities in Belgium. And every time there was a new school, we posted an NO2 map with indicating where the school is situated, which is quite shocking. Yes, this is this is Brussels, how it's spread out. And so in all streets, there was like a little competition between streets to do the most creative action, and everybody posted it on Facebook. These were the action days, and then we put the school on it, and then you see what they've done. And we also, the most creative school, we made a drawing of it, and that was then the school that won the creative. I have put we really have a lot of them. So yeah, this was a song that has been made specially for the action. This was a bus that was transformed in a bar. There was a global action with air soap things, also a filter for clean air. Yeah, I'll go fastly through it. Yes, also children talking to the press and so on, and how we also did what I don't know, Gil said. We also made like a kind of list of what to say to the press, what not to say, and also children, what is important not to laugh with children that come by car to school and so on, to be inclusive. Yes, politicians came. They came a lot. Why? Because it were the elections. So we had a lot of visitors, let's say, promising things. We also did an action with Critical Mass Brussels. So we looked for things to do with other organizations. Voilà. Next to that, in our Facebook page, we try to inform about air quality and all the teams that go together, that everybody becomes like a specialist in air quality. And then we feel the need. So we were going through the end. It was almost holidays, and we feel the need to do something together with all schools. So we took the most dangerous place in Brussels, Saint-Telet, it's named, and we did a call that all schools would come together. We did this in Brussels, in Antwerp, and in Mechelen. And yes, this was the result. We did this action for 2 years, and in the second, at the end, so the first part of the year was until the big holidays in summer, and then afterwards we started again. And at the end of the season, the elections, we did a big action. We drove on the highway from Antwerp to Brussels. These were some pictures of it, and to end at a certain place where there was a party. The next year we did almost the same, and we ended also on again, we drove through the highway And this is a little bit the image about it. And we ended up at in the center of Brussels, and we did like a protest dance that was made by Ultima Ves, who is the famous choreographer in Belgium, who made a choreography and made a song too, and we danced together in public space. This is a little bit the overview of that year. And next to that, after a few weeks, we noticed that a lot of architects and urbanists were doing the action. And we also noticed that there are a lot of experts closing down the streets that have a lot of knowledge. And we thought it was really interesting to gather that knowledge, to bring these people together to talk in a debate, for example, but also to think how can we change the city in a good way, on a positive way. How can we use our imagination to convince people of how it can how the city can change, and not by saying we want less cars. Of course, we want less cars, but by saying we will want more mobility, we want more space for children to play, and so on. So we did some workshops. We gathered around school environments and so on. And we started to make drawings and to make images of how it could be. This is a school street, for example, actually, and this was what we proposed to do. We also did, we combined it with an action on the street itself. We invited the mayor of Brussels, that's the guy, and we offered him our plan and asked, please do something about our streets. This is another example. It's the canal, also in Brussels, where I won't go into detail, but where we say, yes, look what this can be. And then we invite the ministers to give them this plan and ask, please do something about this. Some other projects. Also, this is really a city highway. Let's say there is not even a bicycle path. So, and this is the proposition we did. We again did a big action. So we are making images, and then we do an action. And also here we again did the protest dance, and there were 2,000 children. It's on that street. We also closed down the tunnels, the Brussels tunnels, for that. So voilà. Yes, again, instead of cutting down to have garages, here we make a kind of amphitheater. Also here a picnic place and so on. And then last summer, yes, we have the Corona time, as everybody knows. It's also an opportunity, we think, to gain public space, to divide it in another way. And we organized a summer street. This is the street. It's really an ugly street without nothing to do, let's say, only cars. You also see our poster here on Google Street View. And so, yes, we decided to close it down and to organize a lot of things. We also made an imagination of how that street could become. And this was, in fact, what happened this summer. It was incredible. It's in Molenbeek. Everybody knows Molenbeek, unfortunately, I think. But so nobody knows each other. It's a really multicultural site. But by closing down the street, by putting activity in it, to do a lot of things, everybody came out. Everybody started to talk. Everybody was eating together, inviting people from other cultures to their table to eat. So it was really a really interesting experiment. This photo I put in because I think it's the most beautiful photo of the whole summer. It's a girl here in the streets. And this was a little bit the atmosphere of what happened. Again, we gave our imagination, our proposition for the street. We gave it to the ministers, and they came. And my last image is also a drawing which says "Help, ik zit nog altijd," which means "Help, I'm still suffocating." So it's not yet, the solution is not yet there. And I hope I'm okay with the timing.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. The fact that you're using art a lot, drawings and dancing and singing, and expertise as well with the architects and other experts. So the third presentation is Jane from Mums for Lungs. Jane, over to you.
Hello, everybody. It's really great to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's really inspiring to hear how Guillaume and Katrine have done what you've done, because I feel like the really boring one, because we've done it all. What we've done is sort of, you know, there's no protest about it. We're just kind of lobbying, I suppose, but hopefully it'll still be interesting. So let me just share my screen. Yes, so, oh, there we go. Can you see that? Yes. So yeah, hi, I'm Jane, I'm from Mums for Lungs, and we are a clean air campaign group based in South London. And we've also got little offshoots in Southwest London and North London as well. But we started about nearly 4 years ago now in Brixton in South London. And basically, hang on, let me advance. Yeah, so we began in 2017, and there was basically 2 mums on maternity leave, wheeling around their babies in prams around the streets of Brixton, and realizing that it was really stinky and lots of exhaust fumes, and thinking, actually, this probably isn't very good for them. And so Jemima did a load of research and realized that transport is the biggest source of nitrogen dioxide in the UK, and the air pollution has so many health impacts, and especially on babies and children who are breathing faster, have developing lungs, they're lower to the ground, they're closer to the exhaust. So she got really fired up and really angry about it, and decided to start raising awareness. So created a petition for things, and then I got involved about 3.5 years ago, and somehow we heard about school streets, which were being done in Hackney and Camden, which are 2 boroughs in North London. And we thought, oh, we should start lobbying our borough to put some in. So we kind of started, and kind of set up a petition again, approached the council, and then we got some funding to try and do a London-wide campaign in the beginning of 2019. And so we decided what we'd do is research. So the Mayor of London had published this report saying that about 400 and something schools were in illegally polluted areas, primary schools. So we researched all of those, the illegally polluted ones, and came up with about 300 that needed, that we thought would be suitable for a school street. So where maybe it wasn't a main road, it didn't have a bus route on it, we thought it could legitimately be closed twice a day. And we kind of went from there, really. We created a briefing, we contacted head teachers, we contacted parents, set up a Facebook group, because we had loads of interest from parents all going, oh yes, that sounds great. And we sort of funneled all about that, focusing on the parents, using their contacts with the schools to push sort of from the inside and inform the heads and say, can you take this to the council and ask to put it in? And it was a relatively new thing, I think, back then, because the school streets first came to the UK in 2015 in Edinburgh. So there was still, actually, if I just move on, then we'll see. In March 2019, there were 33 schemes across London in 11 boroughs. So there's 33 boroughs in London. So that's about a third of the London boroughs had done a few things, but they were sort of feeling their way. And then after about a year, so this time last year, we'd managed to sort of, not us completely, obviously, but pushing for it and enabling parents to push for it. There was about 85 schemes across 20 boroughs. So we were sort of getting slow progress. And then, of course, COVID happened, and our government published some new guidance to allow road space to be reallocated. So for social distancing, school streets was one, pop-up cycle lanes, low traffic neighbourhoods. And suddenly, the Department for Transport was enabling boroughs to apply for funding for those things. So they were, and then fast forward to now, and there's about 400 schemes across 32 boroughs. So there's one cheeky borough left that hasn't committed to it, which we're very much hoping will change its mind. And then we can say that the whole of London is doing at least, a few schemes in various boroughs. There's a report for the Mayor of London that came out, I think, beginning of last week, that showed that school streets in London have led to a reduction in nitrogen dioxide of up to 23%. So, the evidence is there that they are helping. And I think COVID has done a massive favour for us, certainly, because it's something that boroughs that would never have committed to do something like that before, because for whatever reason they're just behind the times, have suddenly gone, yes, actually, we'll do it. We'll give it a go. And even there's varying levels of success, but even that means that hopefully they'll keep going with it, and a lot of these schemes will become permanent, and then people will go, hang on, I want that. A bit like the other, what you've just been describing, sort of snowballing, other parents getting involved, other schools. So the things we've learned from our campaign, ultimately, is you've got to have parental support at each school. You've got to, some parents are really up for it. Some parents won't be up for it. For whatever reason, some people will say, we have to drive, I have to go to work afterwards. I've got 3 children and they're all at different schools, So it's really important to start from the beginning by understanding people's concerns and taking them on board and listening. Likewise, actually, with teachers and residents as well, because often when residents hear that, oh my God, my road's going to be closed, they get really worried and, oh, I'm hemmed in, but actually it doesn't have to be that way, and it isn't that way. But if you mess up the communications, then often there's just barriers put up. And also, we know of schools that the parents are up for it, the head teacher's up for it, but actually the local authority wasn't up for it. So the local authorities needed to be enabled and funded to do it. And they've been enabled because the government have said, we will create more school streets, but they also need the money to do them. And, money is scarce right now, isn't it? We've also got another problem in the UK, actually, outside of London, that we need some legislation to be passed to allow authorities outside London to enforce school streets with cameras, because over here we have, you can either put a manual barrier up to just stop traffic, or on a more permanent basis, councils will put up cameras, and then they'll have exemptions for like disabled drivers. And if anyone drives through that isn't exempted, then they'll be sent a fine. But outside London, you can't do that yet because of this legislation. So we're kind of, one of our next things now is to be pushing the government to enact that legislation. Yes, what comes next? So even in London, 85% of schools don't have a school street, and it needs rolling out more widely. We recently did a report with Possible, Climate Charity, and the Active Travel Academy and Transport for Quality of Life, which looked at the potential for school streets across England. And we discovered that at least half of all schools in English cities are suitable for a school street. So we think it's something that, the government have said we will do it. We've sort of done this research to show that it's possible for lots of schools to benefit, but we really need that legislation change, I think. And the really important thing that came out of that report, in fact, that we always say is, school streets are brilliant, but they will not change the world on their own. They're closing the roads twice a day in term time only over here. So that's about 39 weeks of the year. And they're an amazing way to raise awareness of air pollution and make people think, oh, why is that being closed? Why can't I drive there? Oh, maybe I shouldn't drive there either, when they realize. But actually, in order to really reduce traffic and pollution and solve so many problems, the climate crisis, we need to be doing other things as well, like clean air zones, road user charging, all sorts of things. So yeah, that's where we're turning our attention to. So that's it. If we can help in any way, or you want to learn more, get in touch with us. And thank you. Sorry, it's not protest.
Thanks a lot, Jane. It's very interesting too. A lot of advocacy and lobbying, which is also a key piece of the work. So thank you all three. We now have time for questions. If we don't have, because we plan to have this workshop until 7:30, but if we need a bit more time, we can take it. So no, don't worry. And Maria, I'll let you coordinate the questions.
Yeah, we collect two questions. One is how to convince the police to come and close the streets is legal or illegal. How in the COVID situation, if you have problems, what is your experience? How to work with the police if it is legal? And the second one is from Adrienne from Paris. What resources and procedures have you requested to build up the urban plans? I understand it's for Anna Catherine. How long have you carried out all these actions and what results, achievements? I think Jane, in the presentation, she shared the achievements clearly. So perhaps Guille and Anna Catherine, you can explain more.
I can take the first one. Here we notify the authorities that we are doing a protest, and then they reach the local police, so they come and close traffic. We think it's very important that they handle traffic and they secure the area. Moreover, considering there are kids involved. Here is a straightforward protest. We just notify like 1 week before, and then they take care of everything. I don't know if in France or in other countries is different, but here it's how it goes. It's great for us because it's like the police close traffic and we just do the protest and stay with the kids, and we don't need to handle like angry drivers.
Was it the same for you, Anne-Catherine?
Yes, our first actions, we forgot, in fact, to ask the police. We just did it. And but the police came, and but they were very friendly. And after that first action, we really had a good relationship with Brussels police. And so a few days before the action, we sent an email to say which street would be blocked and so on. But we didn't have, the police didn't come to our street. We just did it ourselves. But they were, they knew. We also don't do it in streets where it's too dangerous. It's more the streets where it's possible, that it's not a big issue. Maybe then the second question, we had no funding. We just did it completely for 1 year and a half. In my case, I really spent almost 1 year and a half on this. Now we have funding since a year to do some workshops and so on. So we stopped, in fact, the protest, the school street protest. We stopped, we did it, yes, okay. And I guess everybody has a little bit seen that, done that. Now we go to the next stage. And so the actions that we are doing are more into tactical urbanism, let's say, but also combined with urbanistic plans and visions, and therefore we have the Brussels government who gave us a budget. And then for the third question, what are the results in Brussels? But which is a city where there is a lot to do still. But in fact, the government changes, and in fact, yeah, they say that we have something to do with it. I'm not sure if that's true, but we helped, that I'm sure. So, and there is much more attention for air quality, for traffic safety. So it's really the politicians that are in power now are really dealing with the problems. It goes too slow for us, but I think there is some improvements, let's say.
Okay, there are other questions from Annika from Germany. There is a difference between a demonstration, and that's closing the streets, and a regular school street, in my opinion. And the latter are a problem for German traffic laws. Well, it's a comment. Okay. Guille and Anne-Catherine from Jane. Sorry, I missed this point, but do you think that the protests will lead to official school streets like here in the UK?
Well, yes. So a lot of school streets are through the protest. A lot of school streets were installed. I have to say that I'm not completely convinced about school streets. I'm sorry to say that, because the school street, it is done by parents or by teachers, or so. And if you have a coalition of the willing in your school, then it's okay and then it can work. But when some parents that are motivated are gone, the school street is also gone. That's one thing. And the second thing is that air pollution, we have to admit that air pollution won't help so much by closing down the street 2 times half an hour a day. So I'm really convinced that that we need more, and that we have to look for cutting the streets. And I really believe that governments should prioritize school environments as a zone. It's like an oil. An oil thing that grows through the city, but you have the most vulnerable people, children, are is a concentration in that area. So I think we have to prioritize, and that we have to cut these streets if we can. So I'm not completely convinced about school streets.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I kind of agree with you. Sorry.
In Barcelona, our goal is to reduce the amount of space for cars in the school environments, and also to create public awareness that we have an issue here, a security issue in one hand, because there's been accidents, like kids have been killed in front of their schools. Because here in Barcelona, as we have these big avenues, very straight, we have a lot of traffic and they are going very fast. So our goal is that to reduce the amount of car lines to a maximum of 1 car line in front of each school. And actually, in the city of Barcelona, City Hall has already to start transforming the school environments in some schools, but our protest aims for that it accelerates the process. They are going to transform 1 out of 3 schools in 4 years. And we think that if this is an issue, a health problem, we need to go faster. And also in other cities that they are still not doing anything, I think this protest creates a lot of public awareness, so things might start moving forward.
Yes, I forgot to say that there is a big advantage, of course, that is the traffic safety. Yeah? How children, when you install a school street, how they feel free and how they are happy that the last, even it's a few meters, but they feel like in a city where you have to yell, pay attention, like that they have a moment of freedom. It's incredible. So that's really an advantage on the school streets.
Okay, there are another question for Barcelona. What is the contribution of the support organization for parents groups, and also how did you measure the NO2 reduction?
Our contribution is like families and PTAs are super busy and we are all in a rush all day. So from our side, what we provided was like the coordination between the different PTAs. We created the website of the protest, schoolrebellion.com, and we also helped with the press notes, and we just like made them play together, and that's all. And at this point that there are more than 65 PTAs involved, they are starting to take care of it, but it always helped to be the booster of the protest. And I think if this same schema can be replicated in many other cities, and that many schools and families and PTAs, they are ready for this protest, but they just need a little push. And also, as we were saying before, schools are just the tip of the iceberg. This is a way to start changing cities and to stop designing streets for cars and starting designing streets for people. And obviously, it's just fixing the problem in front of each school will not fix the problem, but it's the beginning.
Okay, there is another question from Sandra from UK. Most of the traffic outside the schools is parents taking children to a school in car. Is the same in other countries? Is
Jane, maybe, or?
Yes, well, Sandra's from the UK, so yes. Yes.
Yes, I think that it's how do you call vicious circle, that you're driving your children to school because it's not safe enough, and so the traffic safety is even worse. So that's I guess this is a circle that needs to be cut, and in that way also an advantage of school streets. It's a way of how do you say it? Trying to convince people not to come to school by car, but try something else.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I think it's about a much bigger policy of traffic reduction, isn't it? In general, that's what we need to move towards, really, rebalancing everything towards walking, cycling, alternative ways, better public transport, cheaper public transport, all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Adrienne from Paris is asking if how many people is involved in the organization, if it's a country, if you can explain how is the organization. I think Spain explains that each school has their group of parents, and they have, every city have a Telegram or WhatsApp group. But you can explain more, and also
that's it. It's like we hope that there is an organization that starts the protest on each city, that explains it to the different PTAs, schools, and then to create a WhatsApp or Telegram group to coordinate those schools and just start the protest. I also see a question on the chat about if the guide for how to join the protest has been translated to English. At the time, we just have it in Catalan and Spanish, because these are the two countries that are involved in the protest. But we hope that other cities from France, Germany, Italy, UK might join. And on that case, with the organization that gets involved on those cities to translate or to create that guide specific for that place. So to make it easier for the schools there to join. And let me say it again, but it's super important to have it. If not, PTAs, parents will not have the time to go through all the details of what they need to do. And I think it's the time to start this kind of protest. As it was said before, COVID has opened a window of opportunity, and it's the time to rethink cities.
In our case, there was one parent from each school that was the contact person, and we made a list on Google Sheets with all contact emails and so on. And so we had, everything was centralized here. And so we send which action will you do and so on. So there is a coordination. There was a central coordination for all the actions. And then we had per city, we had the group of Brussels, Antwerp, Ostende, Ghent, and so on, all the Belgian cities. There also were some people that were more involved than others, and yes, they gathered information and passed it through to national, let's say, We also had a kind of list how to do an action. I think we have it in French, so I could share that one. I'm not sure if we have it in English. I forgot.
Okay, there is a question from Simon from Germany. Perhaps it's better if you explain, because I don't understand well about, you are speaking that you are interested to make this kind of protests, and you ask for safety and independent mobility of children. But I don't know what are you saying about the local government. If you can explain us.
Actually, it's not a question, but just
okay.
Just to report that this is our strategy that we want to start in doing it ourselves with parents and teachers to show how a school street might work, and we want to do this or demonstrate it as a demonstration in order to enforce the local authorities to adapt this model and to implement it in the city of Cologne, because at the moment we just see that the authority says, okay, we want to improve traffic conditions for children, and we are a child-friendly city, but nothing is actually happening, and so we want to push them a little bit forward in showing them how it could look like, or how it is working. That's the thing. And actually we have a problem with as Annika said, with the federal law, because in the federal law there's no definition of school streets, but we have a small window, and so that the law allows us to try out some things, and we have to walk through this little window in order to maybe to change something. Yeah.
Okay, Carlos from Spain is saying that how is the reaction of the lobby of the cars industry? How you manage?
Jane, maybe that you have more experience.
Well, we found that actually because it's twice a day and it's not the whole time, and it's children and it's children's health, actually it's really hard to argue against that, but people do, and we've been called lots of names for it. But I think you sort of just have to rise above that and in a way kind of slightly ignore that, because there's enough people going, well, it's a bit of a no-brainer, that you're always going to have a sort of, you know, a vocal minority, I suppose, aren't you? But really, you know, it's twice a day, 39 weeks a year, 2 hours a day. It's you know, most of the objections focus on potential displacement of traffic. So, oh, if you close this road, then surely the cars are going to go there. But actually, there's some studies that have shown that doesn't necessarily happen, and it reduces traffic across an area. So, and where it has happened, in I think Hackney, they then closed the next road over as well. So there's measures you can put in to mitigate, and I think you just got to always go back calmly with the facts and say, come on, guys, let's be realistic here. This is for kids' health, you know, well, everybody's health, but yeah.
Here in Barcelona, it's kind of the same. There is obviously some angry drivers, and at the numbers we are reaching, we are starting to collapse the city at Friday afternoon, evening. But it's a protest. It's like we want things to change. So that's why we are raising our voices, no? And we just need to deal with it, and hopefully things change.
Okay,
we did not really have problems with that. We always, and that's also one of what our advices in our list, that we always smile, that we are always happy and so on, and then it's really difficult to be angry for children, but also the parents, because it's such a happy event that yeah.
Okay, so I think all the questions are answered. I don't know if any one of you have last question. No, so we want to thank you your participation, and we will send you an email with the video recorded, and also all the presentations, and if you want to share, and if you are interested in some of the contacts of the people that attend the meeting, we can share with you. And we can keep in contact in order to join future actions. And especially we invite you to join the Spanish movement with the website is schoolrebellion.com. So any other question you can send to us. We have all the information in this website. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Great.
Great. Bye-bye.